Hi, my name's Grant Conversano. I'm the co-writer and co-director of Summer's End. I made the movie with my brother, Adam Conversano, but he couldn't be here today. So.
I was my first question was it like who drew the short straw who drew the lucky?
So I don't know if this is interesting for the interview. He's editing right now for the Kamala Harris campaign. So it's
no way.
Pretty busy at the moment.
God.
Yeah.
I think that's a legit excuse.
Right. So the film premiered at the Holly Shorts Film Festival last week. We were in LA, and they let him have the day off there, but he still had to edit while we were in LA. But he couldn't really request like 2 weeks off and just go to film
totally.
festivals.
So I guess my first question is, here's the opportunity.
Yeah.
You get to answer, and your brother doesn't. What's it like to work with your sibling on a project like this?
Yeah, I mean, we get versions of that question often. People go, "Oh, are you guys twins, or how did this happen?" And I mean, backing up a bit, I guess I'm the oldest of the two of us, but Adam was always painting growing up. He started out as a visual artist painting, and I hung out around a lot of like musicians growing up, and I ended up being bad at music, so I started taking pictures and then music videos, and then found my way into filmmaking and went to film school, and then he also joined and also went to film school, but we weren't in the same class. So the school never we were never at the film university technically at the same time. So I went through film school like anyone else, and then as I was getting out of film school, my brother was starting there, and I just gotten out of school, and I was trying to figure out how to do this in the world, and I read the Duplass brothers have a book they put out called Like Brothers, and it's sort of basically a how-to manual and also like their autobiography in a way.
Yeah.
And I read it in one sitting, I was like, oh wow, I kind of was like, I need to rethink things, and I gave it to my brother for his birthday, and I said, read this and tell me what you think, and then he read it, and it was kind of like outline of their whole career and lives, and that was like a year and a half maybe before COVID, and COVID hit, and we, hunkered down together for a year, and in that time, basically, you frankly use that book as an outline to be like, let's start our own production company, let's figure out how to make stuff, and then, so in that year of COVID, we sort of started building out projects together in ways that we had never done before. Then, we got out of COVID, moved to New York, and we put this together, so that's how we got to now. So
COVID has been a theme in a lot of these interviews,
right.
Just because of the timing nature. But one of the constants, in some ways, it was obviously an obstacle for certain things. But for you all this time, maybe you wouldn't have found it in the same way.
Right.
Were you not to have that opportunity?
Yeah, that's totally true. I don't know. I don't know what would have happened. In the world that didn't occur. My brother was a sophomore at the film school, and he actually dropped out during COVID because things were so uncertain, and ended up getting work as an editor remotely. So in that time, we sort of built out our own process because, there wasn't any clear avenues to do it the other way. He probably would have stayed in school, and I probably would have, continued to, work for other people. And at a certain point, we were like, no, if we're going to do this, we have to do it together and do it now,
So jumping into the film, most films are character driven, but of the ones I watched, this is character driven.
Yeah.
Tell me about the casting, especially the team, which I think is obviously was critical.
Yeah.
But how did you go about casting this film and finding the right actors for these roles?
Right. So when I was a film student in college, I made a separate short film about a truck driver, and ended up making the movie with this guy, Jacoby Howard, and he was great in it. But when I was initially writing it, I thought of this actor, Michael Abbott Jr. I didn't know him at the time, but he worked with Jeff Nichols, who also went to the film school we went to.
Okay.
I knew of Mike, and I was like, oh, he would be cool. But I didn't know him, so it didn't, whatever. Anyways, and I made that film. That went to some festivals, and I ran into Mike at a film festival. I said, oh, hey, I thought of you for this movie. And he said, well, you should have called me. I said, well, I didn't know you. So anyways, that was like 5 years ago. He said, well, here's my number. If you have something, let me know. And every once in a while, he would just check in and be like, got a script. And then eventually, I was like, we do have a script.
Yeah.
You're going to play this guy, loosely based on our family, frankly. But so that is how we met Mike, and then Graham Lutz, who's the lead of the movie, he also kind of, in a weird way, found us. We were started writing this. No one really knew. We were, just in the early phases of writing, and he had reached out. He had seen some other shorts we had made and was just like, hey, like, this is my resume, this is my headshot. I want to work with you guys. And, it's one of those things where it's just timing. Like, we were working on this script, and I looked at his headshot and seen the things he was doing, and I was like, oh, this could work. So it's one of those things where that sort of came together. The
pieces fall into place.
Yeah.
So you had just mentioned, and one of my questions was, this is a short feature, but it's very personal. Yeah. It's a very personal story, which I was, left to wonder, semi-autobiographical.
Aspects of it. Aspects of it. I would say.
But how do you juggle the vulnerability it takes to bring the personal into the fictional and to meld the two?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, like, here we could talk a little more about that. I think it's shown once in this other festival, and there was a Q&A. It was like, so tell us, like, they kind of were like, oh, this happened.
Yeah.
It was like, no, this is
it's
a movie.
Fiction.
It's construction.
Right.
So I mean, what's true is I grew up in North Carolina. We would go to the beach, for these family vacations, and frankly, growing up when I was young, they were great. Like, they were amazing, lovely, everything you would imagine they to be. But as I got older, I think my parents were going through their own things, and these trips started to maybe have two sides to them. Like, in the day felt one way, and the night felt different. And so that idea was what was interesting to me.
Right.
So I think sometimes, like, people think, oh, this just happened. It's like, as much of it is our story or whatever, based on our family to a degree. I was also just interested in, like, regions and locations and like just my own observations of Myrtle Beach and, like, the two-sided nature of that place, like a Vegas-y kind of place by the beach. And so, it's a mixture of, like, parts of bits and pieces of conversations that are fairly, and other things are things we'd noticed or things we'd seen or stories we'd heard from other people who also grew up in that area and have their own stories. And so, and that's screenwriting. I don't know. At a certain point, it's you mix these things together and try to find a beginning and an end.
And the place is a character. I mean, Myrtle Beach is very much a character in this film. And we off camera, I mistook it for Ocean City, Maryland, which is similar look.
I mean,
but there are those stories in those beach towns, and there's the beach town that maybe you remember as a kid.
Yeah.
And then there's the beach town that's a lived experience.
Yeah.
There's two moments in the film that made me, sharp intake of breath. One where he talks about, there's the argument at the dinner table. And the father says, I gave you 100 kisses, 100 hugs. Subsequent scenes after that, at the car, when pulling him out of the car, they are as far from 100 kisses and 100 hugs as two humans can be.
Right.
And it was real. You felt, at least as a viewer, you felt that loss.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, you put those words on the page, but then you're seeing it being acted. I mean, was that exactly how you hoped it to be delivered?
I mean, it's weird because I think in a way, like, writing can be emotional or, it's private. So there's a little more space to, like, imagine or this or that or whatever. And then you get to a place where you're like, okay, this feels right.
Yeah.
But then you're on set and you've got the crew and it's nighttime and it's cold and you're dealing with the logistics. So in a way, there's, like, I remember doing that dinner scene and, like, for the most part, frankly, was just worried about we're over time.
Right.
Running out of time.
We got to go.
We got to go. And, like, that's mostly what, like, at the front of mind. But then obviously that unconscious, subconscious layer is, like, you start rolling, you're like, oh, wait, this is why we're here.
Right.
And I think there was one take where Mike, the father, like, got to a place that I do think is probably the take that's in the movie, but that, hit me in a way that I was like, oh, okay, we're stumbling towards.
Yep.
I mean, I think what I'm generally interested in is, like, you're trying to head towards, like, memory and, like, guiding, having memory guide you towards what is ultimately dramatic for other people. Because the idea, I mean, again, this is something Werner Herzog said, and I think he's correct about this. It's just that, like, they're not his dreams, they're all of our dreams that he's surfacing. So if you're touching something that you remember, it's likely that, it's going to touch someone in the audience's own experience. And I think that's been true. And so those moments, some of the things you've highlighted are, come from a certain experience. Yeah. And then they land with people.
They do. Yeah, I mean, the father-teen or parent-teen dynamic, I should say, is universal.
Right.
There's also a very poignant moment where the son is saying to his mother, "Why do you stay with him?
Right.
Why do you look at this man?
Right.
How can you stay with him?" And
Yeah.
she says, "He's my best friend."
Yeah.
That it lands an unexpected blow, I think, because there are other heavy blows in this film,
Right.
and the honesty and the earnestness of her, to have had to, said earlier, I haven't been intimate with your father in years, and we see, he's a alcoholic, and we see all these things, but when you strip it down,
Right.
she said, "He's my best friend,"
Right.
Which lends a layer to the story that was unexpected to me. So I just wanted, I made a note in my mind. I was like, I need to thank these guys for putting that in, because it answers a why question. And there are always those, there are always a million reasons why an emotionally or physically abused spouse stays in a marriage. But that's it at its most basic.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, we owe so much to Maria Dizia for, reading our scripts. We didn't know her. Mike got the script to her. She read it and met with us, and she was getting off of Broadway, going to do Marvel. And in this little chunk of time, she did this film with us, and we really appreciate it, because I think it's that role in a way is perhaps the trickiest to, she doesn't have a lot of screen time, but if that scene was in the hands of a less capable actor, I don't know that would come across. And she
could feel fake.
She found that, and that was there in the script, but she found her way into that, and in a way that came from her.
You
And,
believe her.
and we're there on the day, and she just brings that. So she's amazing, and it's been so wonderful to work with.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
What a luxury.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the role technology plays in this film? I think, I'm not going to be ageist. Well, maybe I am. You're young enough. I believe you're a digital native. I would assume. But the role that technology and social apps play, it's a key component of this film. How did you approach that in a way that wasn't, I guess, a cliche?
Yeah, it was really hard.
Yeah.
It was actually really annoying too. It was basically it came early drafts of the script, was a very long time ago, and so at that time things still kind of felt like on the computer, it wasn't or maybe I would say the culture around hookup apps.
Yeah.
I started writing this before I was even necessarily aware of these, or I think they really did explode, especially going into COVID.
Yeah.
So as this idea was there, the tech just kept changing.
Yeah.
And as the tech, this was in the back of our minds, as the tech was changing, I've also seen people's relationships change.
Yep.
I would see more posts about open marriages or situations or
the opening scene, he thanks them and wishes them well on their honeymoon.
Right. And that actually is based on a real post that we found on Craigslist.
Wow.
But they don't do that anymore on Craigslist. So when we were starting to write this, we were like, oh, maybe this would be interesting if something happened at Myrtle Beach. Show what's going on in Myrtle Beach. We just went on Craigslist.
Yeah.
And had this looked on the seeking page, and this was a real post of an older couple looking sweet with a younger man on their honeymoon. And I thought, that's crazy. And anyways, so
we got to use
that idea, but then by the time we were shooting, that felt very antiquated.
Craigslist.
That felt very antiquated. Yeah. So, anyways, basically, I didn't know what to do, and then I saw the movie Tar, and in that, it kind of blew my mind because it's very simple, but it's there's a made-up app in the movie. I've never seen it before, and you're sort of like, oh, this kind of makes sense, but it's not an app I know, and I think something about it being a step away from reality sort of let you kind of launch into that reality more. So basically we built this app and worked with our prop master, Kat Miller, the executive producer, who she's the prop master for Severance.
Oh wow!
So she really helped construct this app with us, and our production designer, Tori Lancaster, and we also had a graphics person who helped bring that thing to life.
Yeah.
Like totally like.
So
yeah, it was a lot of
I'm a
work.
little relieved you said that because I was like, am I so out of touch?
No,
I have no idea what this
we
app
created
is.
it because we didn't want to deal with like copyright issues and all that, but
makes
also we felt like the voice as a medium was more interesting than text.
And it's an authentic moment.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. I think, and congratulations to your brother. These are very exciting times for you, I hope. As you take this around, I guess what has it been like to be in the theater watching your work with others?
I mean, it's only happened a few times just now. I mean, we haven't. This is the second festival it's playing at. So, I mean, we saw it in Los Angeles last week, which was great, and excited to see how people react to it here. But it's I feel very grateful, selected and programmed, and
wonderful. Well, we're lucky to have you. You're certainly your entry is part of this mosaic that makes the festival what it is. So thanks for being here.
Yeah,
Great.
thank you so much.